Good morning. Good morning. Welcome back to the Great Leadership Awakening Summit. Welcome to day 3. It's so nice to see you joining live. I want to say our biggest fans of the summit. I think you've showed up to almost every session. So Mayor family, welcome. Shamika, welcome. It's so great to see you here. And what a 3 days it's been. And we have 9 incredible talks, experiences, interviews lined up for you today. And if you have a moment just to drop into the chat, kind of how you're feeling this morning or what you've taken away from the summit so far, would love to hear from you. And then I'm going to talk to you about my favorite business book and what you can do today to reconnect to your creative self, your highest self, and to use that in life and in business. But let me know how you're doing today, how you're feeling. I'm feeling pretty buzzy, pretty energized. Like it has been a whirlwind as we've shared with you insights from the Great Leadership Awakening. And it just feels so fun to get to do this together in community and to engage with a really beautiful audience. So I'm feeling buzzy. And it may also be the venti coffee that I had this morning, as per usual on Summit Day. So welcome to day 3. And I want to introduce you to my favorite business book. Now, I might have a new favorite in the Great Leadership Awakening, but I want to introduce you to my favorite business book because it might not be what you expect. And oh, yay, Shamika, you're feeling motivated, inspired, and encouraged. Yeah, me too. Like it's like we create this symbiosis of like, I share, you share, I am you, you are me. Like if we kind of come back into here and this space and maybe ignore what's going on in the world for a moment, we get to feel however we want to feel and to witness so many incredible people following their heart, following their path. It's super, super inspirational. So what is my absolute favorite business book? If I throw my screen up here, you'll see up top there's a few: The Startup Manifesto, Living Your Strengths, Profit First, Getting Unstuck. But none of those are my favorite business book. My favorite business book is The Artist's Way, a course in discovering and rediscovering your creative self. And the reason why this is my absolute favorite business book is because to be a leader in business, to be a leader in your field, to be a leader in your family requires so much creativity. And we are living in a world right now where censorship is on the rise, where we're censoring ourselves before we say, before we act, before we do, constantly paying attention to what will be approved, what will be accepted. And The Artist's Way brings us back to core, to creativity, and to what wisdom is already contained within. And the second reason why this is my absolute favorite business book, it's by Julia Cameron. It's been around for over 30 years. The second reason this is my favorite business book is because I literally started this business because of my work with The Artist's Way. And I'll share with you what that looked like in the summer of 2020. So this is all about discovering your creative self. If you haven't ever read it, purchased it, been exposed to it, like once you finish the Great Leadership Awakening, you've got to get this book. And there's 2 tools that are described in it. Julia Cameron takes us on a 12-week process to rediscovering our creative self and to feel a sense of safety and identity and encouragement. But she lays out 2 tools to come back to what really inspires you. And those 2 tools are the morning pages and the artist's date. Now, the morning pages, pretty simple, but not easy. The morning pages are an invitation for us to take out our notebook. This is my favorite kind of notebook. To take out a notebook and write 3 pages long form every single morning. And the reason why this is such an important tool when we're coming back to our creative self is because what you'll find, and I did this for 3 months, and from it emerged Soul Excellence Publishing. But what you'll find is that the whole purpose of the morning pages is to start noticing the junk in our mind that's getting in the way of our creativity. So for example, I woke up this morning and I did my morning pages. I wrote 3 pages longhand. And the first 1.5 pages, which always happens, is just like, it's just like, okay, I slept well last night. I had a really bizarre dream. Like, I wonder if the ducklings are out by the canal. Oh my gosh, we have a lot going on in the summit today. Like, is it going to go? Okay. Like, it's worry, it's boring, it's fear. It's just the mind chatter. And then 1.5 pages through, as it always happens, exactly, Shamika, mind trash. And luckily it has a place to go now. It has a trash bin, the trash bin being your notebook, and it gets to live there. And then what you notice is that 1.5 pages through, pure inspiration, just like things you hadn't thought of. Like I suddenly had a huge aha about a relationship and what it was meant to show me that had never dawned on me before. And so the morning pages are your invitation to take the mind trash out. It's like take the mind trash out every day so that your deepest wisdom can flow through. And the way that Julia talks about it in her book is it's a way for us to get past logic and to get into our artist's brain, that part of ourselves that's creative, that's holistic, that operates in patterns and symbols more than straightforward logic. And so let me know in the comments if you already have a journaling practice. And I would say that this is different than journaling because well, first of all, even just committing to write 3 pages, it takes me about 30 minutes to do so. And I write in like really small handwriting. So if you write bigger, maybe it won't take so long. But the reason why I like it so much is because it's a discipline, it's a structure, it's a new habit, and it's a way to just see the craziness that's going on in the mind that's preventing us from accessing truth. And you get there in the morning pages. So let me know if you already have a practice, if you're doing something similar. And if you're not, can you start doing so? Because the morning pages are all about sending a signal out. Once we get through the trash, sending a signal out of like, what's dropping into our awareness? What's on our mind? The morning pages for me, as I shared, are what started Soul Excellence Publishing. I came across The Artist's Way in, I want to say July of 2020. And it wasn't until August that I really started to get into the practice and following the 12 weeks that Julia lays out in her book. And before I share, there's something I wrote in here that I want to share with you, but the morning pages were like, they were core to this process. Let me see here. Oh, Christy, yes, you're doing this process, getting through the mind trash, Fernanda. Yes, so good. So you've got that. And of course, as a publisher, I love to write. So this makes sense that we're talking about this. And what I also want to share with you is that in working with executives and entrepreneurs and super successful, high-powered people in business, since that's the world that I came from, that's who I attract into the books that we publish. What I've come to learn is that so many of my leaders who are about to be authors show up with so much armor on and show up ready to write their chapter about like the achievement side, like the like, look at me, like I did the thing, I was the hard worker, and now I'm the CEO, and these are all the awards that I won. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. But in terms of story, like how did you get there? And tell me what really happened. Like, what were those life-defining moments? This is one of the processes, the morning pages, that helps my authors to like, whew, if I can get out of the fear and come back to heart and vulnerability, what is there to be shared? So that's tool number 1. So if you're not doing the morning pages now, I invite you to consider picking up this practice. Give it a try for a week, give it a try for a day. I also really enjoyed starting this over the summer, like a different energy of like waking up and noticing. So if you put it off, consider picking it up in the summertime. So the morning pages are about getting the mind trash clear, putting this new signal out to the world. The second tool that Julia lays out that I absolutely love is called the artist's date. This is basically an invitation to take yourself out on a date. She suggests every single week, but it's a time to yourself to go out and receive inspiration from the world. So in the morning pages, if you're asking a question, if you're exploring new ideas, you're sending a signal out. Your artist's date, you are now inviting inspiration in. So what could this look like for you? Is there a local museum that you haven't gone to yet? Is there a neighborhood that you haven't walked through recently? This morning on my walk along the river here in Fort Lauderdale, there's an old house called the Stranahan House. And I saw a sign in front of it that said craft fair on Saturday. And I was like, oh, artist date right there. I'm going to go. I'm going to receive inspiration, see what I find. And you'll start to notice, like, once you start sending out certain signals through your morning pages, of course, you call in new awareness through your artist's date. This is your opportunity to play, to say, oh, I'm going to break routine. I'm going to do something different. On Sunday, I went on a walk to a park that I had never been to before. I honestly didn't even know it existed. And it's like my whole world changed. Suddenly I saw things differently, and I can't really describe it, but it was like a sense of wonder, a sense of curiosity. It's the rekindling of that energy so that we can, well, one, just feel it. There's really not a so, but the ancillary benefit is we get to bring that into our interactions, the things that we're creating, and the relationships that we have. So I want you to take a moment and just note for yourself. We're going to do an exercise here too in just a minute. Note for yourself, when's the last time you took yourself out on an artist's date? Maybe you wouldn't call it that. And I would say, like, going to the gym or going to the yoga, like doing those things, like I wouldn't call those artist date. Like, can you get a little more creative? Is there a walk? Is there the museum? Is there the coffee shop? Is there the scuba diving lesson? Like, what is the thing? So just take a moment and jot down for yourself, looking at the week ahead, can you do something to receive inspiration? Even if you're on a work trip, even if things are super busy, it doesn't have to be a 2-hour date. Maybe it's a 30-minute date, but is there something different that you can do to put yourself in a place to receive more inspiration? Combined together, morning pages and artist's date, they get us like out of here, this tunnel vision of like, I've got so much to do. My family requires so much of me. Like, I'm super stressed. And like, it just picks our head up for a moment. And we're like, oh, the world is beautiful. Let me see what's happening here in the chat. Oh yeah, Christy, take myself out for dinner when I'm feeling overwhelmed so I can journal and just sit by myself. Oh, that reminds me of last week when we were in Beverly Hills for our book launch party for the Great Leadership Awakening. I think it was on Thursday. I was sitting in the hotel by the pool having lunch, and just sitting there, I was overhearing all of the conversations around me and cracking up to myself because, no surprise, every single conversation was about Hollywood, was about the entertainment industry. I was overhearing a writer and a producer, a young actress and a director. And it actually really got me inspired thinking about the future of soul excellence, this vision of a media company. Like, it sparked some things just by sitting there and noticing and paying attention. So an unintentional artist's date, I suppose, but Christy, exactly that. Shamika going to the beach, staring out at the water. I loved, I think it was yesterday, and I totally forget who was it. Maybe it was you, Christy, talking about intentionally zoning out. Yeah, that feels like intentional zoning out on an artist date, Shamika. So I want to let you know that so I guess early August 2020 is like when I first started working through the morning pages. Again, think of this as a 12-week process. And there's a contract here on page 23. You'll see it here. Looks like I started in July, and then I changed it to August 23rd. So in the contract, Julia basically is like, all right, people, are you committed to your creativity, to coming back to yourself and to not being like a drone in the world? And if you are, sign this contract and commit to yourself. And so the contract, just a piece of it. So I wrote, I, Kayleigh O'Keefe, understand that I am undertaking an intensive guided encounter with my own creativity. I commit myself to the 12-week duration of the course. I, Kayleigh O'Keefe, commit to weekly reading, daily morning pages, a weekly artist date, and the fulfillment of each week's tasks. And I signed this contract on August 23rd, 2020. 3 weeks later, as I was writing in my morning pages, I was like in the final paragraph one day, leading through the pandemic, unconventional wisdom from heartfelt leaders came to my mind. It was the first title of a book for Soul Excellence Publishing, a company that did not exist yet at that time. And suddenly it was like, oh, well, that sounds amazing. I bet people would want to share their stories. Like, people are going through a lot right now. They're feeling alone. What if we could do so in community? The first title was born. The company was born. And since then, every single book that I've published, community that I've brought together, has been the result of doing the morning pages. The Great Leadership Awakening. Significant Women, Leaders Reveal What Matters Most. The X Factor, Spiritual Secrets Behind Successful Executives. All of these have come through because of the morning pages. And so this is why this book, the wisdom in it, is my favorite business book, because what it did for me was bring me back to my own creativity. And in that space of creativity, an entire universe has been born. There are now soul excellence leaders and authors on 4 continents around the world because of this book. So while books like Profit First and Getting Unstuck, or the Hard Thing About Hard Things, these are all great books, but for me, it all comes secondary to the idea, to the spirit, to the energy, to the creativity. So what could the morning pages do for you? Let's give it a little test run this morning. And I'm going to invite us to do a really simple exercise right here, to come back to play, to come back to creativity, to have a little fun right here on day 3 of the summit. Because week 1, when you pick up this book and follow Julia's process, week 1 is all about recovering a sense of safety. And she opens the book, this chapter, with this line: one of our chief needs as creative beings is support. And I believe that to be true. And it's why these books are multi-author. It's why there is community. It's why we're doing this summit, where people have taken the time to reflect, to write, to feel supported. Because to be creative, especially in this day and age where we feel like we're always playing to the camera or playing to the world, it's so hard to be like, wait, what do I want to do just that's straight from the heart, straight from the soul? And she addresses the negative beliefs that keep us stuck from sharing. And she takes us through an exercise that I'm going to take us through right now that gets us to think, just to think more playfully. So I want us to all take a moment and let's imagine if you weren't doing what you're doing right now. And maybe if you were at the top of your game, just for some extra fun. I want you to imagine the 5 lives that you would like to be living. So what are the other careers you would take on right now? Do you want to be a tennis player, a DJ, a newscaster, an explorer of the Antarctic? Take a few moments and jot down 5 imaginary lives that you would love. So take a moment to jot them down, and I'll invite you to share in the comments 5 imaginary lives. Like, what else would you do if you weren't doing what you're doing right now? You think about mine. I wonder if I feel like I feel like I'm being called out. I'm going to share what they are. And then it's like, yeah, go do that. Hold on. Hmm. How creative can you get? How big can you think? And if you're like, oh, well, I'm not really good at that. Okay, that doesn't matter. Like, just imagine that you're amazing at it and you're the best and everyone wants to see you do your thing. What would that be? Oh, just a new one came to me that's never come before. Okay. That's weird. Hmm. What else? What else? Hmm. Hmm. Ooh. All right. Who wants to share their 5 imaginary lives? I mean, I'm happy to go first, but if you want to come off mute or drop in the comments. And yes, your invitation is going to be, is there something you can do this week that speaks to these inner desires, these imaginary lives? Like, is there something you can do if you want to be a rock star, to take a lesson, to listen to music in a different way, to go to a concert? Let's bring your imaginary lives and your artist state together and kindle that creativity that lies within. If we get in the habit of creating the conditions for our own creativity, there's no telling what can happen. I mean, clearly you could start a company and start a whole thing. You could start a whole different relationship. So let's see. Ooh. Oh, these are fun. Should be a cosmetologist, mixologist, blogger, flight attendant, professional coach, Christy, digital graphic artist, giving tours in various places of the world. That's on my list. Number 3, travel tour guide. Chef, selling handmade goods in a small town, brainstorming consultant. Totally. Yes. Anything else you wanna share, Christy? I see you on screen now.
No, I mean, it's something that I keep thinking about, and when I do my vision board, so it's easy to do it. So, but yeah, it's like getting more defined though, like saying small town for the handmade goods,
Mm,
versus Etsy
mm.
versus online. So,
Uh-huh. And we got chef in there. So I'll share mine. Fernanda, best-selling author. I mean, that's so easy, Fernanda. We could make that happen like next month. We've got 2 more books coming out: Diversity and Humanity, which speaks to diversity, equality, equity, and inclusion, and The Queen Bee in May. There's a lot going on. Women's sensuality coach. Why do I feel feminine flame MD that you might already be doing that? I don't know. It's just the name that you have. Traveling women's retreat leader, meditation guide, dance instructor. Yes, all of this. I'll share mine. I wrote down DJ. Like, I would love to be an international DJ. Quarterback. I don't know. It would be so fun to be a quarterback. Travel tour guide, as I shared. What is this one? Here was a new one, because I've done this exercise many times before. I wrote sandcastle expert. Like, suddenly I was like, I want to build those amazing sandcastles that you see on the beach that are, like at these competitions. You're outside, you're by the ocean, you're building something. And then finally a surfer. So I guess there's quite a few beachy things on mine. Yeah, surfer, exactly. Um, yeah, love that, feminine flame. Yes. I forget. I know that's not your actual name. I know you think you shared it at some point yesterday, if I recall, in one of the chats. Okay. So can you feel the energy, Victoria? Yes. Okay. Can you feel the energy when we start to imagine these other things? We might be sitting in our desk and answering email and answering client questions and sending in those expense reports and like doing all that stuff. And yeah, okay, it's there. But can you feel the energy when you start to imagine a whole different life? What can you do to call that in today? Best-selling author, what can you do this week to write, to put yourself out there, to make a post about something, to even tell someone this is your dream like you just did here? So I want you to take a moment and say, based on what you just wrote, what's one thing that you can do this week to spark that creativity? DJ, I mean, this is simple. Like I have a little thing here that my friend gave me that's not like a DJ set, but it allows you to like mix beats together. Spend some time with that, Kayleigh. Build a sandcastle. You live right by the beach. Go do that. It doesn't have to be perfect yet, but maybe bring like a bucket and that little tool. Surfer, can you get out in the ocean? Chef, can you cook a meal this week? Cosmetologist Shamika, are you going to buy some new makeup this week and try a new technique? So write down for yourself what you can do this week. I don't care how senior you are in your organization. I don't care how much money you have, how big your home is. If you're here, it's because this idea of an awakening, of an inner stirring is calling you. And it's things like this playfulness, this childlike spirit and energy. This is what gets us out of the rut, out of the day-to-day, out of the humdrum, and into alignment with what we really love, what we really care about. And when we have these little moments, it has a ripple effect in all of our relationships. And you start to notice things happening and coming your way that you couldn't even expect. So look at your list. Pick something you can do this week and just do it. Fernanda, write a meditation, take a dance class. These are so attainable. Yes. When we show up for ourselves, when we show up for our creativity, when we clear out the mind trash and get back into the body, the experience of creativity, we awaken ourselves. We turn the light back on within. And when we do that, we shine the light for everyone else. These 3 days have been about rekindling our spirits, remembering who we are, reconnecting to truth and beauty, and being fully alive, fully on fire, fully awakened to our highest potential. So thank you for coming this morning to receive some motivation on this jam-packed day 3 here at the Great Leadership Awakening Summit. At the top of the hour, Mary Gregory will be joining us, followed by Jerry Pacheco, and then Shiri, and then Adapia and Jennifer, and then Ariana, and then Cindy, and then another Cindy, and then I'll wrap us all up at the end of the day. And I'm not going to be tired. I'm going to be super energized because each of you, our participants, our authors, show me what's possible when people come together without agenda, without pretense, and open to play. So thank you for being here at the Great Leadership Awakening. I'm Kayleigh O'Keefe, founder of Soul Excellence Publishing. I can't wait to see you the rest of this day, and go do that thing. Report back, message me on LinkedIn, go do that thing. What does it feel like to be in your most creative, most expressed self? All right, we'll see you at the top of the hour, everyone. Thank you.